In this video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips to improve your shadow boxing game. The first tip is moving your head after your last punch. So when I'm shadow boxing, I'm throwing combinations, I'm throwing my punches. I just don't wanna punch and then stay still. I don't wanna leave my head on the center. I wanna move my head or change my position of my head after my last punch because my opponent's gonna punch back. Last where he's seen my head. So if I throw a jab, I move my head. Now, a good rule of thumb, especially if you're doing the Peekaboo style, is if I throw a straight punch, I move my head 3 times, slip 3 times. If I throw a hook, I bob and weave twice, okay? But you can really do any movement pattern you want. I can throw a hook and still slip, okay? Preferably, like for instance, me being taller, I like to use more of the side to side more. I use more of my blocking and my side to side rather than trying to get low on my opponent. Okay, if they're the same height as me or taller, then I'll get low and come in with the bob and weave. But if they're shorter than me, I'll work more of my arm defense and my head movement side to side. So, first rule, move your head after your last punch. So if I throw any combination, I'm gonna move my head. All right, start off stationary. Get in front of a mirror and just work your combination. You wanna make sure that your stance, you have a tight structure in your stance. Let me tell you what I mean. So when you're in your Peekaboo stance, it's more of a squared off stance. It's not 100% squared off. Only time I do that is on the inside. But when I'm on the outside, this foot's still back, but my hips are more at a 45 or squared off. The reason why is because I want both shoulders more square where I can go side to side easier. If I blade up, it's hard to slip way over here. So instead of slipping the right hand, you gotta roll it, catch it, or Philly shell. Okay, but Peekaboo, you're more squared off. It's an offensive style, moving forward. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm just gonna throw my punches and then move my head. Make sure when you're shadow boxing with head movement, you do full range of motion. Don't do this stuff. Don't go jab and do this little head bob crap or this little fake stuff. And when you're shadow boxing or working a heavy bag, anytime you're drilling, you want full range of motion. Okay, I don't mean being large and wide movements, but you want to go through the actual defensive movement. You want to take your defense and make it just as important as your offense when you're shadow boxing. That's the key. Okay, that's why you're focusing on the first point is moving your head after your last punch. So what I want is when let's say I throw a double jab, I want good full range of motion when I do my head movement. All right, if I throw a 1, 2, 3 or a 7, 2, 1 in Peekaboo, I want to do full range of motion when I bob and weave. So that's the first tip, is move your head after your punch. And I'll just give you a little example right now. If I'm just right here, move my head. Getting used to moving my head. Moving my head. Whatever combination I choose, I move my head after my last punch. Now the second tip to improve your shadow boxing is moving your feet after you punch. The first tip was moving your head. Now you're gonna move your feet. So this applies to 2 different things. If I decide to punch and move my head, then I move my feet, okay? Or I can punch and move my feet. So there's other pieces of a footwork that you can add in to this. You don't always have to do one set or another, okay? So let me show you what I mean. So the first thing, let's say I throw a 7-2, a jab cross, that's the Peekaboo number system, and I just weave. Okay, and I just don't want to pop back up and just stay right where I'm at. I want to move out. So I'm going to link the video in the top of this one. It's called the 3 S's of footwork, boxing footwork. And I'm going to focus on that. So just to give you a quick reminder, you got stepping. I can move forward, backwards. I'm just stepping. That's your normal boxing movement footwork pattern. Okay, second one is skipping. I'm getting on the balls of foot, moving around like this, I'm skipping. Okay, third one is shuffling. So that means I'm moving faster now. I'm shuffling forward, shuffling to the side and back, or I can circle out. Okay, the shuffling when you circle is one of my favorites. So taking those 3 S's of footwork, I'm gonna add them in after my punches. I'm not gonna move my head. So when I'm in front of my opponent, I can step in, jab, cross, hook, okay? And then I can step off. I can step off then. I can double it up and step off, or I can shuffle. I can jab, cross, hook, shuffle out. Change the angle, all right, circle away. You want to get out of the habit of going forward and going back. You want to change that angle and move. If you have to go back, you want to do it maybe 1 step, 2 step, and then you circle out. Because if not, your opponent's just gonna steamroll you, get you against the ropes. Okay, so I'm gonna add footwork. Let's say I go 7-7-2. I move my head. Now I'm gonna move my feet. I shuffle out. Okay, change the angle. So when I'm shadow boxing, I punch, then I move. I punch, then I move my feet. And there's other pieces of footwork you can add into twist. Like I can throw a combination here, twist to the side, throw another combination. I can throw a combination, spring to the side, that side step to the side, and throw a combination. That's very much a thing you can do also. But I love the shuffle. So watch this. Well, boom, 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 and I just shuffle out. Boom, 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 shuffle out. I can shuffle back and then out and around. Okay, so let me show you. Let's say I go 7-2-1-2, shuffle back, and then circle out. Then I change that angle, and then I can shuffle, change the angle, throw a combination. So I'm punching and moving. All right, so the first tip was punching and moving my head. Pop, 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 move my head. Maybe I work my way in, and I want to stay on the inside. That's when I move my head. Or maybe I want to punch and move. Maybe I want to hit my opponent and then move my feet and get away from my opponent, change the angle. So that is the second tip. Remember, you can do it right after your punches, or you could do it after your head movement, and then I angle off. Preferably, that's the way I like to do it. I like to punch, move my head, and then move my feet. That is the second tip. The third tip to make your shadow boxing better is utilizing the jab. The first rule of thumb when you spar or start sparring or even have a fight, you want to establish the jab. Okay, you don't want to just blitzkrieg your opponent. You don't want to just try to run them down because you're going to walk into something. You want to be able to feel out your opponent's power, feel out his intentions, and that's where the jab comes in. So when you're shadow boxing, you need to spend a lot of time working the jab. In Peekaboo, it's the number 7. Remember, there's different angles of the jab. I got the standard jab. Stand, shoot straight out. I step forward, push off the rear fat, breathe out. The standard jab. I got the outside jab where I move my head, turn my thumb down, outside jab. I got the inside jab where I slip and jab at the same time. Okay, and then I got the number 8, which is the body jab. Okay, so when I'm shadow boxing, I can work through those different 4 jabs. So I can standard. And remember, if you're doing Peekaboo, I'm gonna follow the first rule is move my head after my last punch. So if I throw a single punch, I gotta move my head. So here I throw a standard jab, and I move my head 3 times. And I can mix up the combination. Maybe I jab, slip, slip, roll. Maybe I jab, duck, jab, throw a single slip. As long as you're moving your head, trying to move your head, you're gonna be okay. So I'm here, I work the jab, the standard jab. Maybe I just move my feet. Maybe I work the standard jab and then I move out. Maybe I step in with the jab, step back, and then move out, using more footwork. Okay, when you see me use the footwork, maybe some head movement and footwork, that's more of the tall man's Peekaboo game, okay? Because if you're tall and you're always pressing forward trying to bob and weave on the shorter opponent, you're gonna, a lot of times, you're gonna weave into those punches because you're going down to their punching range, okay? So a lot of times I'll come in and attack, maybe move my head once and then move my feet to change the angle, okay? Everybody, when they're starting off boxing, they should be able to move in and move out, move in and move away. That is the safest way to start off boxing. It takes a select few to be able to be a pressure fighter and to always moving forward, always moving forward. You gotta have a strong forward defense when you're moving forward. You gotta move your head, work all your layers of defense because you're gonna be walking into your enemy's full power combinations. And it takes a lot of grit and toughness. All right, that's why not everybody's a pressure fighter. Okay, not everybody's a Mike Tyson. Maybe some people like to be more like an Ali, someone who likes to punch and move. Okay, so the third tip is working the jab. So once I can double up the different angles. I can go standard, slip jab, standard, outside jab, high, low, low, high. And I can either move my head or move my feet or do a combination of the above. Maybe I'll slip and then move my feet. Okay, so the third tip is utilizing the jab. Everything you do in boxing, the jab is the most important thing. Whether you're on the heavy bag, shadow boxing, or sparring, you gotta establish the jab. And that is tip number 3. Shadow boxing tip number 4 is very important. It's punching in combination. All right, you don't wanna be when you get to sparring, you don't want to be that guy who's only throwing one punch at a time, one punch at a time. Why throw one when you can throw two? Why throw two when you can throw three? Remember in boxing, the 3 count, the 3-punch combination is the sweet spot. It's like the earth and the sun. We're in the Goldilocks zone. Okay, the 3-punch combination is the Goldilocks zone. Why? Because usually by your 3rd punch, your opponent already moved, or they're already counter punching, and then you have to move. Okay, if you pay attention to Mike Tyson, a lot of times when he's training, he focuses heavy on the 3-count combination, especially when he's on the outside. He'll focus on the 3 count. It doesn't mean you have to always throw 3 punches, no. But that's a good starting point, reference point, or point you return to when you want to punch in combination. So tip number 4 is when you're shadow boxing is punch in combination. So if I throw, I'm just putting punches together. Remember, you got to move your head. You got to refer back. So we're on tip number 4, but you still have to do the other 3 tips. Okay, you're just not just gonna punch a combination. Punch a combination. That's worthless. Okay. Now, by the time you get to tip 4, you should be blending all tips together. All right. What's the first tip? Move your head after your last punch. Second tip: move your feet, or a combination of moving your head then moving your feet. Third one: work the jab. Establish the jab. The different angles of the jab. Okay. And then the 4th tip is punching in combination. So now I can start slowly putting everything together. So I'm here. Work the jab. Move my head. Move my feet a little bit. Move my feet. Punch in combination. Move my head. Move my feet. Return back to the jab. Okay, if you watch Mike Tyson, that's what he does when he's shadow boxing. He's usually jabbing, moving his head, punching in combination, and then moving his head, moving his feet. Okay, so again, I throw a combination, move my head, move my feet. Okay, or I throw a combination, I move my head, throw a number combination, move my head if I want to stay on the inside. You should be a visionary when you're sparring. Okay, you should visualize different scenarios, different opponents. Okay, maybe I visualize myself up against the ropes. I'm working head movement, counter punching. Maybe I'm being a sniper working those counter punches on the ropes. Okay, maybe I'm chasing my opponent down off the jab, trying to get close. Maybe I'm working on cutting off the ring, using that side shuffle to cut off the ring to get close to my opponent. So making sure you do stuff in combinations. So many times I see people, even experienced fighters in sparring, they look for one shot. When you counter, you want to get in the habit of throwing combinations. That's where the 3-count combination, that's why it's the sweet spot. So that is tip number 4. The last one, tip number 5 to improve your shadow boxing is adding in feints. Okay, you need feints in boxing. What's a feint? Feint is you're faking a punch to a certain line and then going in attacking another line. For instance, if I fake a jab high and then throw the 8 or the jab to the body, that's a feint, okay? I call it an indirect attack. If I just step in and jab you, that's a direct attack. An indirect attack is I fake on one line, go on another line. Or I can continue on with the same line. I can fake high, throw the 2. Okay, so when you're shadow boxing, all right, remember you gotta do all the other 4 points. But I'm gonna start adding in feints. I'm gonna give you a couple good, like a peekaboo style feints that I like to do. So the first thing, remember when you're pressing forward, you're getting your head offline, you're moving your head, you're working your jab and you're moving your head. What I'll do is I'll do like a quick jerky head movement. A quick jerky head movement, either to the side or down. I fake. I might put a little stomp on it. Fake. I'm drawing your opponent. I'm trying to identify what his motives are. Maybe he's a counter puncher. If I feint him and he goes like this, like he's gonna throw a hook, I know that. Then maybe next time I'll feint and then step in with a quick right hand to try to beat his hook. So I'm adding his feints. So head feints, head feints. And I do it in a jerky motion, just like if you had a little brother, right? Or you're the schoolyard bully. You go up to someone and you try to punk them. You do that quick, jerking, believable motion like I'm gonna hit you, and they flinch, and you give them 2 for flinching. Same thing with feints. All right, maybe I hit them with a hard jab, boom. All right, and then I fake it, and then hook off the jab and throw the 2. Okay, so head feint, head feint. I'm jabbing, maybe I'm already working my head movement, and then I feint it. Usually I put a little stomp with it, feint it. Okay, that is the first one I like to do, is head feints. Second one, as I talked about already, is a foot stomp. I love the foot stomp and the shoulder feint. Shoulder feint. So watch this. I can fake the shoulder, fake the shoulder, fake the shoulder. It's almost like I do a little shrug. I shrug, I snap the shoulder, snap it, snap it. If I just go like this, he ain't gonna, you gotta make him worried about it. You gotta make him think that you're trying to punch him. That's the point of the feint. Right? So I can do shoulder feint, shoulder feint. Then the first one, I can head feint, head feint. And the third one I'm gonna show you is I like that foot stomp. I can stomp, okay? I can stomp, just stomp a little bit. Maybe I'll stomp, all right? Maybe I'll add the shoulder and the stomp. Maybe I'll stomp, add the head, okay? And then the last one is you can just feint certain punches. For instance, I can throw a jab, all right? You can throw it halfway out and then go, okay? It's all about rhythm in boxing. Or maybe I can hit him with the cross, fake the cross, come with the left hook to the head, and vice versa, head and body, vice versa, okay? So that is some quick tips on how to improve your shadow boxing. Let me give you a quick rundown. I know this is kind of a long video, but it's important. All right, you gotta be focused when you're shadow boxing. Your shadow boxing should be not a warm-up, but a workout. It should be focused. So the first tip is, after you punch, you move your head. All right, preferably if you're in to throw a straight punch, I slip 3 times. If I end with the hook, I weave twice. Okay, second one is moving my feet. Okay, whether you're a peekaboo or not, I throw a combination, and I can do other advanced footwork like step rounds, pivots, okay? But the simplest one is I just step away or I shuffle away. I attack, maybe I move my head and then move my feet. Change the angle, especially if you get against the ropes and you're getting your ass kicked, you need to be able to get the hell off the ropes, okay? It doesn't matter what style you use, okay? The third tip is establish the jab. Remember, you got the different angles of the jab, and I can double it up, triple up the jab, okay? And then the one after this one, number 4, is throwing combinations, and then I gotta move my head, move my feet, and the last one is you're gonna add feints, okay? Whether if your arm, shoulder, head, I can actually blow them a kiss and then punch low. I've had people, that's why when I fight people or spar, I don't watch their eyes, I watch their chest. I've had people, if I'm looking at the eyes, blow kisses at me or wink at me in fights, okay? That could be very intimidating. Okay, so that is it. Hope you enjoy this video. Have a good day.